You were with us on Friday in the moment as this broke, and you've had the weekend to digest this and write a few things on The Verge. I know you've been focused in on implementation. What does this actually mean practically for how apps will now have to work within Apple's ecosystem? I mean, I don't know. Do they have to put a button in there that you get to pick the payment system? It seems to me like Apple's got a viable argument to say, hey, if people want a refund and they come to us, but we're not the payment provider, in order to provide a unified experience in the store, we've got to be able to provide some sort of governance, and maybe you have to pay us for it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of challenges in how apps will implement payments absent a clear rule that says Apple gets to own everything, which is what Apple had, and which the judge pretty much struck down, right? She says apps have to be able to tell customers where other purchasing mechanisms are, what the prices are. She wants price competition in the store, and you have to have buttons and links in your apps that direct people to those purchasing mechanisms. If that goes into effect 90 days from now or 86 days from now or whatever, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of fast and furious innovation. We're going to see a lot of boundary pushing, and we're going to see a lot of Apple headed back to the judge to figure out what the parameters of that rule actually are. But Epic has already appealed this result. It is almost certain that Apple will cross appeal and request a stay of the judge's injunction while that appeal is sorted out. And that is all happening in parallel with the legislative action on Capitol Hill. So will this rule come into effect? Yeah. I have no idea. But I do know that just crossing out the anti-steering rule, which is what the judge wanted to do, creates a lot of opportunity for both business model and implementation innovation that threatens Apple's core 30% cut. And that opportunity, if you just take a step back, represents a big deal for how apps work, for pricing in the App Store, and like you said, points for and against Apple. Those points are real margin that can be invested in innovation elsewhere.
Absolutely, but Nilay, aren't there also some real user convenience issues here? I mean, you guys at The Verge do a good job reviewing technology and talking about usability and design. Right now on the web, we're used to being able to see, okay, you know, in checkout, maybe I can use PayPal or Apple Pay or directly input my credit card. Apps haven't worked that way. They've been a lot more fluid. Right now, if you introduce that capability, you've really got to do it, if you're Apple, right, in a perhaps designed in sophisticated way, sort of issue some rules and guidelines to apps so that there's some consistency, or people are going to be confused.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's a reasonably good argument. I think at the same time, Apple over-relied on that argument and didn't really convince the judge in this case. The judge repeatedly says Epic didn't meet the burden of proving Apple as a monopolist in digital mobile game transactions. It's a very narrowly defined market. And then she repeatedly says Apple's at the precipice with its market share. Apple is only reduces rates when there's legal action. She's constantly noting there's a lack of competition here. And then in analogy to retail stores, she says the difference is in retail stores, consumers have knowledge of other options, and Apple's preventing that here. So yes, I think there's a big convenience factor. I think in many ways, in-app purchase and particularly subscription management on the iPhone is better because it's centralized. But as a consumer, can I make the choice to pay higher rates for convenience versus perhaps lower rates for a less good experience? I feel like that's a choice I should be able to make.